Welcome back to Ivy Joe's Reviews, where today we will discuss Scream 7. Kevin Williamson is back, directing his iconic characters, SidneyPrescott, Gale Weathers, along with the famous Ghostface, voice solidified by RogerLJackson. Somehow, despite over the years, having various writers, directors, such as Wes Craven to Kevin Williamson, and executive producers, this formulated horror tale is the gift that keeps on giving. Instead of being regulated to one killer such as Michael Myers in Halloween, in the Scream franchise, whoever finds themselves offended by Sidney and Sidney's mom, Maureen, and Maureen's promiscuous past, can put on the Ghostface costume and become a killer. Neve Campbell, who we missed in Scream 6, is an executive producer along with Courtney Cox. Both have made Scream a solid franchise. Straight from the start, Scream 7's formula was tweaked and wasted no time diving into the storyline. A couple, Madison and Scott, played by Michelle Randolph and Jimmy Tatro, stay at a mockery of Stu Macher's home from the original Scream. They literally walked into a history museum that consisted of accumulation of relics, based on the fictional Stab movies. Scream 7 was violent and thrilling from the onset, and it was an interesting plot device to have the couple stay in a home that was a replica of Stu's home from the original Scream. Just like in real life, you always have those die-hard horror fans. The action was a bit more believable, as Madison was able to hold her own, and fight Ghostface for a great deal of time. We also appreciated the switch up and not relying on the first few scenes with a phone call from Ghostface. There was even one where he called Madison a bitch. It was rolled out in a more realistic way. It was good to see SidneyPrescott moving on in her life, having a family, and seemingly despite her past not experiencing any sort of post-traumatic stress symptoms. We had the opportunity to meet her daughter Tatum, played by Isabel May, who was named after her best friend Tatum Riley, Dewey's sister, played by Rose McGowan, from Scream 1. Scream 7 also revisited the whole climb through the window scene that became popular along the Scream franchise. A 90s song, The Red Right Hand, along with a parting contemporary song on the soundtrack as the credits rolled, was sprinkled in, connecting you to the past Scream movie recipe. There were jump scenes, and we found ourselves both jumping at the same scene. Kevin's directing, a role he was encouraged to take on by Neve Campbell, was effective. Mark Consuelos, introduced as Robbie Rivers, a competitor of Gale Weathers along with comedian George Willis, who played the role of the high school theater director, brought on a fresh take. Mindy and Chad Meeks Martin are played by Jasmine Savoy Brown and MasonGooding. They are a nice blend of Randy Meeks, their uncle, from Scream 1 and 2, and the Gale Weathers character. In my opinion, they presented an opportunity for the Scream franchise to continue on. We noticed the hints of Gen Z and Gen X messages sprinkled throughout the film. Do we harm or help our loved ones by protecting them from our past? Are they weakened or strengthened by knowledge and truth? We also appreciated that they did not spend too much time on the kills from characters you weren't really invested in. Ghostface gutted and killed them in the most inhumane way. What didn't truly track was Joel McHale playing Mark Evans, a role previously played by Patrick Dempsey. His role was not that convincing as the chief of police, and it is a shame that Patrick Dempsey had scheduling issues and wasn't available for the film. Additional tech devices were used to bring this film up to date. And it was great to see the reprieve of Stu Macher's character. No, he didn't die. Did he die? Did he not die? Questions were fueled. We also enjoyed seeing characters from previous Scream films that are there to help you recall why Sidney is so hated in the first place. We at Ivy Joe's Reviews found ourselves tracking right along, until the end, waiting for the big reveal. We couldn't wait to find out the answer to that question they had been floating since Scream 6. For so many reasons it was not what was expected, and unfortunately, we had to deduct points from our overall rating. We felt like the killers had a backstory, but a real connection was not made to Sidney, not in the way the previous killers were attached to her family history. As presented and questioned in most crimes, what was the alibi? What was the motive? Well, in our opinion, neither was strong, and ultimately, isn't that what we're waiting for the entire movie? To find out who is behind this mask and their reasons why. There is always a motive. There has to be a strong motive, or else one feels disconnected from the character, and their connection to Sidney. It was presented as if it were a clever ending that would throw the audience for a loop. However, one of the killers, we quickly guessed pretty early on. Once again, the motive was lacking. To not spoil too much of the film, we believe if the writers had taken a slightly different route in Scream 7, it could have taken this movie to a higher rating. Honestly, despite the disappointment in the reveal, the rest of the film, the chemistry and the nostalgia to the original Scream, helped the obvious gaps. It was nice to feel as if not only were we watching a Scream movie, but a horror film. But you tell us. If you've had the opportunity to check out Scream 7, did you see areas in which the plot device failed? Were you surprised by the Ghostface killers? What do you think could have filled in for obvious gaps? Do you think the door was opened enough for a Scream 8? And lastly, what did you think of Kevin Williamson's directing? Please leave your thoughts below, and if this video resonated with you, please like and subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching Ivy Joe's Reviews.